All right, so we're diving deep into podcasts today. Podcasts.
Podcasts, yeah, it's a whole world.
It really is. And you've given me a ton of articles and research to get through for this. But
Well, it wasn't too much.
no, it was great. It was great. But like one of the first things that jumped out at me was this idea of podcast science. What is that?
Yeah, podcast science is kind of this catch-all phrase,
Yeah.
but it basically means like all the research and analysis that goes into like how podcasts are actually made,
Yeah.
how people listen to them, what makes them good, all that kind of stuff.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it can be the psychology of storytelling. How does our brain even process audio? Because it's different than reading, right?
Right. Yeah.
And then there's all the technical stuff like audio production.
All right.
And then even like the social side of it, like podcast communities, people who listen to the same shows and talk about them.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. So it's really like, taking something that we think of as just, oh, I put on my headphones and listen.
Yeah.
And then it's like, whoa, there's a whole world behind it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think understanding that podcast science can make you, a better listener.
Yeah.
Maybe even, get you thinking about creating your own podcast someday.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. So I guess a good place to start would be like the history of podcasts.
Yeah.
How did we even get here?
Yeah, for sure. So one of the articles you sent me, it traced podcasting like way back to the early 2000s, shows like Dawn and Drew, the Ricky Gervais show.
Oh, yeah.
Back then, it was like really niche, like a very small group of people,
Yeah.
mostly like techie people, really into this new thing, sharing like audio blogs, basically.
So it really was like that kind of DIY early internet, like, I'm just going to put my voice out there.
Exactly. Like
Yeah.
homemade radio shows almost.
So, I mean, obviously podcasts have come a long way since those early days. I mean, it's huge now.
Oh, massive. I mean, now you've got millions of podcasts, like literally every topic you can imagine.
Yeah, there's a podcast for everything. So how did we get from those, like, early adopters to this, like, global phenomenon? What happened?
Well, a lot of things, honestly.
Yeah.
But I think, platforms like iTunes coming along, that was huge.
Right.
It made it really easy for people to find and subscribe to shows.
Yeah.
And then Spotify coming into the picture, that changed things too.
Right, yeah. Because now everyone's got Spotify.
Exactly. And then honestly, smartphones,
Yeah.
like the iPhone, that completely changed how people listen.
You can listen anywhere.
Exactly. And then suddenly, podcasts weren't just for techies anymore. They were for everyone.
Right. So, like, I think about my own listening habits. Like, I'm listening while I walk the dog. I'm listening while I do the dishes. It's just part of, everyday life.
Absolutely. So, yeah, it's been a wild ride from those early days to now. It's just crazy how much it's grown.
Yeah. So now we're here. Podcasts are bigger than ever.
Yeah.
What do you think the future holds? Like, what's coming next for this crazy world?
Ooh, that's the big question, right?
Yeah, I know.
Well, some people, they're talking about podcasts getting even more personal. Like, imagine AI that, like, knows your tastes.
Oh, wow.
And can recommend shows just for you.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Right. And then maybe even interactive podcasts where you get to, like, choose what happens next.
Oh, like a choose your own adventure? Oh, my gosh, that would be so cool.
Yeah. And then on the audio side, things like binaural recording are getting more popular.
Right.
And that can, like, create this super immersive experience. Like, you're really there in the room with the hosts.
I love that. So it sounds like the future of podcasts is like even more engaging, more immersive, more tailored to like individual listeners.
Yeah.
It's going to be wild. I can't wait to see what happens.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe we'll all have our own, like, personal AI podcast buddies.
I mean, why not? Right. So, okay, I think we've covered a lot of ground today, from the early days, those humble beginnings, to this incredible future that's like unfolding before our eyes. I feel like I understand podcasts on a whole new level now.
Yeah, and I think the biggest takeaway is that podcasts are more than just, talking into a microphone. There's this whole history behind it, this whole science behind it, and that's what makes it so fascinating.
Exactly. So as you go out there and listen to your favorite podcasts, keep all this in mind. Like, think about the creators, the technology, all those things that go into making those shows so great.
Yeah, and think about this. What role do you think technology is going to play in, shaping the future of audio storytelling? Like, will it enhance the experience or will it completely change it?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah, that's something to think about. Maybe it'll be both. Who knows? The answer to that question, that might be the next chapter of podcast history.
I love that.